I'm wrestling, do not weep for me. Celebrate what I am. Celebrate what I have been. Celebrate what I represent. And celebrate the many ways I have impacted your life. I will survive this test as I have survived others. I am forever etched into the very fiber of all mankind. The world needs me. Time is on my side. History guarantees me. I am wrestling. Do not wait for me.
What's up, everybody? This is episode number 51 of the T-Row & Funky Show, brought to you, as always, by Defense Soap, and also now sponsored by Dahmer Mats. Tommy, what's up, man? We missed last week. You were busy with life. Have things calmed down over there in Ohio?
They have not calmed down, Mr. Askren. The Buckeyes are hanging up large tournament titles with Olympic champions out of the lineup and what have you, so it's just heating up.
Well, I thought you were going to bring up Buckeye football because we did take a week off, and they had that somewhat controversial win over the school up north. It's a great month to be a Buckeye, Ben. I'm sorry I don't have the normal audio Yeti speakers and what have you. I seem to have some internet issues today. It's all right. I can't even believe you're telling me the internet at your house has been out for 24 hours. I didn't think that happened in 2016 anymore. I thought that was like a thing of the past.
I'm embarrassed to say I can't even identify the problem. It could be the computer and not the internet, so we're getting it figured out tomorrow.
Hey, can you tell me this, though, Tommy? I need to understand this better. Because I don't watch a lot of college football. But I'm struggling with the fact that Penn State is the Big Ten champion, yet they did not make the college football playoff. Ohio State did not win the Big Ten, and they are in the college football playoff. To me, that seems a little counterintuitive, possibly disingenuous. I mean, if the freaking team wins the Big Ten and the other team does not win the Big Ten, I don't care what a bunch of dumbass pollsters say. I think the team that won the Big Ten should be the one that's in the playoffs. They won it.
Ben, if Kyle Snyder was 11-0 going into the Big Tens, and he triple-dipped and got 6th or 5th, do you think he'd still be seated in the top 4 at the Nationals?
I would hope not.
Oh, come on.
Well, is it Kyle Snyder or is it a regular guy?
Regular guy.
Okay, because Kyle Snyder's not losing 3 times. That was fictitious.
Well, if you got a guy that's ranked second in the country and he takes one on the chin in his conference at the conference championship, it's very conceivable and it has happened often that he remains the top 4 seed at the Nationals. Now, I'm not saying that it's apple to apple, but the Bucks belong in the playoff.
Sure, but why don't maybe throw Washington out and throw Penn State in there or something? I don't know what you're going to do there, but
I could do that. If Penn State went in, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. A lot of people say, well, Ohio State shouldn't be in. But it's like, just think of them being out, how ludicrous that would be.
Well, I don't watch college football too much, so I don't know how ludicrous that would be.
If there was an 8-team playoff instead of 4, Ohio State would be 3-1 versus the 8 playoff teams going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can expand the playoffs anymore because then you get. I mean, these kids are already playing so many games, and they're playing more.
Right.
And I don't want to get into the whole NCAA compensation issue, but I think that's where you start to go with that.
Right.
Like they might as well be just professionals.
We got a lot of good results to talk about today.
A
lot of good stuff.
We got anything else small to talk about besides the Buckeyes sneaking in the play? They probably paid someone for all it's worth.
Buckeyes sneaking in the playoffs. Just started the Little Eagle Wrestling Club for Bishop Watterson. My kids are going to go to a high school called Bishop Watterson, at least more than likely.
What's it? You're running the club?
Well, they don't have a high school wrestling team, so we started a club. So
wow, there you go.
Only the feeder schools. Well, not only, but we're promoting it within the feeder school system. We had 42 kids show up. I would say 37 or 38 are in their first year of wrestling. So it was an interesting time. It was fun.
That is. We're talking about promotion wrestling. So I talked to this guy named Greg Hatcher out of Arkansas who he's added a whole bunch of programs down there.
Is that the guy that hooked up Pat Smith to move to Arkansas?
I believe so. Don't quote me on that. I think so, though.
Seems like a great guy.
Well, yeah. So I got the little recipe down for him on what you need to do. I sent a few emails with Mike Moyer. Now I want to get a college program out here in Wisconsin, and I will let you know I've called St. Norbert. So I have a list of 8 that are ideal for any college. But this college, St. Norbert's, it's in kind of a wrestling hotbed area where there's no college programs, and it's also a mile and a half away from the new AWA that's going to open. So one of the things Greg Hatcher says is, offer to buy them mats and a uniform set. I thought, well, and find them somewhere to practice. And I thought, hell, they don't got to build a restroom. I got one for them a mile away. They can come practice at the facility. But
right.
I called this clown president 3 times, and I emailed him 4 times. He won't even respond. Pissing me off, Tommy.
Oh, gosh. You need me to help? You need me to come in there? I can massage some things for you.
The interesting thing was, and this is what Hatcher said, and then Moyer seconded it, but he said you never talk to the AD because the AD's got a salary. And the AD's salary is the AD's salary whether they add a sport or not, right?
Right.
And he said, well, the college president, so, you're looking at these small private universities that have a high tuition. He said, you look at them, like St. Norbert's, for example, has 1,000 enrollment, right? Well, if you add a men's and women's wrestling team, well, that's 60 people. And so you think, well, 60 people, $25,000 a year in tuition to go to this university. That's a nice chunk of change headed their way. And so the president's going to...
It's a business transaction.
Sure, and so the president's going to see that and say, and especially, women's wrestling is fairly popular in Wisconsin, and there's no women's college program. So, you'd have all the girls going there that want to wrestle. And, but yeah, I can't get this guy to call me back, so I might have to move on to my second choice.
Okay, well, we can do Ohio if you want. We can go down to Ohio.
No. I'm doing Wisconsin. You can do Ohio. I got 8 schools in Wisconsin that I've kind of identified as good opportunities. So I've been harassing my number 1. He won't get back to me. I'm going to go ahead and call my number 2 at some point here.
I like it. I like it, dude.
I'm kind of, maybe I'm being stubborn. I'm kind of holding out hope that number 1 will call back because, I just think it'd be a good situation. But I don't know. Okay, let's talk about wrestling. What do you say?
I'm in, man. I'm in.
Well, let's start with this Club Cup. And I know we pick on the UWW a lot, but can I pick on the UWW some more?
Sure, go ahead.
Well, do you remember like maybe 2 months ago we talked about that in their rules meeting they passed that thing that said that if a wrestler goes and fights MMA that he has to compensate his governing body?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Was ludicrous. Well, allegedly there's now this rule where if an athlete from a different country chooses to compete for a club team, right? And so, like the Germany has that league, right? And then there's Bundesliga. I think there's one in Iran. And so, if they compete for another country for a club team, they have to pay the UWW $2,000. What do you even say to that? You're dumbfounded. You don't even know what to say.
I'm dumbfounded. I'm trying to find a reason that makes sense. I just can't even think of one.
Oh, man.
I can't think of one that makes sense. Why?
Why would they pay? I mean, maybe pay like their federation for the training expenses or something, but the UWW, why should the UWW get paid?
It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
Pure insanity.
Because Randy Couture said it today in the article that I think you retweeted.
I like that you're following up on MMA news. I like that.
Yeah, so I like the business of MMA.
Sure.
1,000 times larger than wrestling, so I get into how it all works. The construct of it really is more entertaining to me than the sport, to be quite honest. But he said, he's speaking in front of a congressional, hearing for the most part, and more of an informative way. I think indirectly it's an attack on the UFC, but it's more to inform politicians and influencers, in the dynamic of how fighters are compensated and treated by governing bodies.
Which is poorly.
Or promotions, being the UFC, right, which is poorly. And Couture said that, and I thought it was really interesting what he said. He said the governing body or the sanctioning committee and the promotion cannot be one and the same, or should not be one and the same, which was interesting to me. When you retweeted this article, Ben, you didn't read it.
I did not read it.
Are you that guy?
I'll read some of them, but I did not read this one.
So it's just.
But I am in support of what's going on, though, with these.
What he said was when that happens, they have too much power. There's not a balance of power where the truth comes out. It's more of a bias, and
yeah.
You can't even really fault the UFC. I mean, they started as a private business. They didn't start as some nonprofit entity that wanted to grow MMA. So, even though their tactics can be questioned ad nauseum,
and should be
correct, but they have never once pretended to be something that they're not. They are a for-profit business.
Yeah. And, at the same time, when you're taking advantage of a lot of athletes who, maybe it's their fault they're being taken advantage of, but when you look at, we're going to talk about this now, so let's just get into it.
Let's go.
The UFC, by all estimates, is paying out 10 to 15% of revenue to athletes. And when you look at other major professional sports organizations, the number is right around 50. And so if somehow the fighters, and I think the association or union should be by organizations, so there should be a UFC union or association, and then a Bellator one, not like a broad scope one over all professional fighters. It just doesn't make sense. So when you look at if it could have the collective bargaining power to get it up that high, that'd be a lot more fair towards the athletes. And I could tell stories and stories and stories on how.
Yeah, I think something needs to be done. I actually think long term something will be done, and I don't think
it's long term, Tommy. I think it's coming fast. I'm talking next 12 months for sure. You're going to see some major changes in the landscape of mixed martial arts, and honestly, I think that's part of the reason. I think that Fertitas kind of saw this coming, and that was part of the reason for the sale of the UFC.
Yeah, and I think that the fighters have been on the wrong side of the fence, but I don't think it's as much as people spin it. Maybe
it
you
is.
being
It
one
is.
of them.
No, it's
maybe
bad, Tommy. It's bad. Let me give you one example.
Let me tell you why it's not as bad as people say. Because I think that the old owners of the what's that?
And then I'll tell you why it is.
Well, I think the old owners did an incredible job of reinvesting those dollars into the growth of the sport. I don't think that they were taking equity distributions and pulling profits out of the company.
I'm pretty sure they were. I'm pretty sure that's.
I don't think at a level that I think I think they reinvested in their sport with aggregate revenue dollars. A greater percentage of their revenue dollars were reinvested in the sport than the NFL, than Major League, than NHL. Now,
I don't have specific statistics on that, but I do believe that the Fertitas and Dana took some large equity draws. I don't quote me on that one, but I'm pretty sure they did take some pretty big ones.
We'll never. No.
No, it's public. It's public. Let me Google it. Hold on. I'll Google it here. So one of the things, Fertitas take equity draws. I'm pretty sure it's public knowledge that they did in fact.
Then they were 420 million. They had 420 million in leverage when they were purchased.
I'm not following you here, Tommy. I'm not a business guy like you.
They had 420 million dollars in loans when they sold it for 4.2 billion.
Yeah.
So they were in debt.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they didn't take distributions, but
no, I'm pretty sure they did take distributions though. I'm trying to find it right now.
Yeah, well, if they're taking a couple million, it's not a big deal.
No, I want to say it was like $300 million. But I can't find it. I'm Googling it and I can't find it. Anyways, I think it was something large like $300 million. Very large. And don't quote me because I can't find it. But Tommy, let me tell you, like, for example, the UFC fighter contracts.
Do you think just before we get into
and
this
is almost all of MMA, not just UFC. Obviously, we're picking on them because they
before we get into this, point number one is I do think the athletes are compensated unfairly. But my question to you is, don't you think the Petiters should make more than the athletes?
Oh, 100%. But, well, I mean, even at like the major leagues, those kind of organizations, when we talk about 50-50, well, in those leagues, there's 30 owners and there's, how many hundreds of athletes, right?
Right.
And in the UFC, you're talking there was 3 owners and 600 athletes. So even if you got a 50-50 split, they're making, and then on top of that, when you talk about, I know Major National Football League, the average length of career is 3.5 years, right?
Yeah, it's not a good balance.
But so like one tactic that they would use fairly frequently, especially when they were more of the number, they were farther ahead as the number one. They're still the number one, but Bellator or other organizations are gaining ground on them. But I know they did this with Alistair Overeem. He came in making $360,000, right? And he loses a fight, and they bring him in. And they say, "Well, you need to take a pay reduction, right?" And if he says no, they say, "Okay, well, you're cut." Well, he doesn't want that to happen, so he agrees to the pay reduction. So, but if a fighter wins, he can't demand a raise. Maybe McGregor has, but across the board, you don't just get a raise when you win, and yet you could be, and I mean, so the contracts are heavily skewed towards the ownership, and so I do think there are some major changes coming down the pipe. I'm excited for it. I think it will benefit the athletes in the sport, and the sport in general. I think it'll be taken a little more seriously when these things are there.
They definitely need coverage, and I actually think that some of these guys that fight in the UFC for 6, 7, 8, 9 years, they need pension too.
Yeah, pension would be a great addition too.
But they're independent contractors right now. They're not employees.
But they shouldn't be. That's a scam in itself. I mean, if you read any independent contractor legalese, it's pretty obvious that they are not, in fact, independent contractors.
No, they're not.
Yeah, okay, so let's get back into the Club Cup. I do love talking about the MMA business. I have that other MMA podcast that I do. It's called Podcast MMA with Sean Wheelock and Joe Warren, and we talked extensively about that. And we're actually having next week we're having Congressman Mark Wayne Mullen on the show. And he was in
the article. He was very well spoken.
Yeah.
He was in the article that you retweeted but never read.
And he actually is he was a wrestler at Missouri Valley College in college.
Right.
Yeah. So so the Club Cup. Okay, Tommy. So I picked on the UWW a little bit. So the Titan Mercury Club wins, the first American club to ever win this, right? Which is pretty awesome.
Awesome.
They got, I don't even know how to say his name, Kinchikvili at 61 kilos. And he's a freaking Georgian. How is he part of the club? Like what? Where did that come from?
Who the heck knows, man?
What are they doing?
Yeah, it kind of takes away from.
It takes away from that a little bit, right?
It's literally like the playoffs start and the Cowboys say we want Tom Brady for the playoffs, not Dak Prescott, and they have him come play quarterback.
Yeah.
But it was still freaking cool for an American club, American-dominated club, with the exception of Kingishvili, to make it through this. We had some of our country's best wrestlers. Some guys take some on the chin, but to get through that thing, I think it's a pretty cool event. I think it's a pretty damn cool event.
Yeah. And so what do you think about I do the youth stuff, right? And we put our team together. And one of the things that's prevalent in youth wrestling, and this is kind of how I feel about this Titan Mercury thing, is none of these guys train together, right? David Taylor's at Penn State, Derringer's at Oklahoma State, Snyder's at Ohio State, Nazar's at Wisconsin. You get the picture, right?
Right.
Gwizdowski's in North Carolina. So it's not really like a club in any sense of the
word. Did you say Mike Wazowski?
I said Gwizdowski's in North Carolina.
Oh, gosh, okay.
Mike, that'd be good. He does kind of look like a Mike, if you ask me. But you got these guys, they're not really a club in any sense of the word besides the same person sponsors them. I see this in youth wrestling is where they'll say it's this club, but then they'll just go get the best guys from everywhere. And it's not really, you know what I'm saying? It's not really the club.
Well,
how do you feel about that?
I feel, other than the Kingishvili example that you brought up, I feel like it's a little bit more authentic and real than the youth thing, because these guys do represent Titan Mercury annually at every domestic event.
Sure.
So, yes, they don't train together, but there is some substance to being a part of Titan Mercury for them. Whereas, to your point, these dual meet things, you got coaches just calling up random kids trying to assemble the best all-star team. They meet on a Friday, drive to the dual meet tournament for Saturday, and then leave. That's, and it's a one-off. It's not something that they do all the time. So I think this is a little bit more legitimate, but to your point, it's not a true club like these regional training centers are, where they're actually training together.
If you get a regional training center, that would be a real club type situation. That would be really cool to see that happen. Someone should really make a professional league in the United States.
If Tervel Delagnev came out of retirement for a club cup, I think the Ohio RTC would do good. You got Snyder, Delagnev, and Stieber. That's 3 of the 7, so they'd probably do all right.
You got to fill in. You got to fill in the 8th weight too, because they got the 70 kilo. Well, I mean, you could call Hunter Stieber back, right? I mean, he's a.
We can get Jaggers to come out or something,
Yeah, that would be cool to actually see that happen. I thought, now Tommy, this is one of my other half-baked professional wrestling ideas. I tried the individual thing twice and we failed. So I thought, hell, maybe you try the team thing, right? And you do regional training centers, and you allow them. They can have a maximum of 2 guys out of the 8 that don't actually train with them, right? And if you can't fill the lineup, sorry, get someone else to move in, right? And so right off the bat, you could do 2 4-team pools essentially, which is your conference, and you could have Finger Lakes, Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, Ohio RTC, and Michigan. I think all those could come fairly close to filling a lineup. Right,
yes.
Especially if you throw the college kids in there, like in the spring or something.
Right.
And then, or maybe the fall potentially. And
you even got Brandon Slay with the Pennsylvania RTC. He's got a few guys now.
Yeah, and then on the other side, you could throw in like maybe Northwestern or Illinois. Maybe they could combine. Obviously, you got Iowa, Minnesota usually has a few. And then Nebraska or Oklahoma State, so you could throw in like one conference, the other conference, and they actually have to have those people living in residence at those places to actually have them on their team. What do you think?
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, I think it's got some wheels, but here's the thing, and we talked about it in whatever episode we talked about it. What the athletes need to understand, at least in the beginning, is their value to perform, their financial value to perform, at least in my opinion, is less than their value to teach a single leg to 100 kids. And they have to come to grips with that and want to perform for less than giving a clinic, because financially speaking, you can't pay them what they're worth at a camp to compete.
Without losing a lot of money.
Without losing a lot of money. Now there are exceptions. Like you could have a Sadulayev Snyder super match.
Ooh, wouldn't that be fun?
And pay them a lot more.
Tommy, why don't you do that?
Oh, it's been discussed. The only problem is one of them's an amateur still. So
if you make him enough money, he could lose his amateur status.
I mean, it's been discussed in my head with myself, is what I mean when I say been discussed. All
right.
But all I'm saying is that's just the truth. It's not a smack to any of these guys. It's just the truth. Your value to compete in front of people has not proven to be more economical than your value to teach a single leg to 300 campers on a June day for some guy running a camp.
Yeah.
And that's just now. That doesn't mean it's that way forever. But that's the way it is right now.
Sure.
And until these guys realize that, a pro league of any kind, in my opinion, is really up against it.
Yeah. No, that's a fair commentary. Okay, so enough of my pipe dreams. Let's get into this Vegas thing. What do you think?
I'm in.
So, Tommy, I will say I was very impressed. First I saw Ohio State losing to Wisconsin going to the finals. And I thought, wow, I thought Ohio State was a lot better than that.
Right.
And then I realized that, they don't have Snyder, Keyshawn, or Bojo. And I'm like, wow, that shows quite a bit of depth that they can have three of their main starters out and still, and then obviously they came back to win.
Yeah, I would say that, and I'm obviously pumped up about the Buckeyes' performance. But I would say that Snyder, Bojo, and Keyshawn at that tournament are approximately 60 points conservatively.
Yeah, probably more.
Right.
Snyder and Bojo are going to go on. They're going to go close to
right.
They're going to go close to 30 themselves.
Yeah, and Keyshawn, we all know he could have done really well, but he's a freshman, so I'm not going to say that he was a surefire. You know what I mean?
So he's done for the year, though. He's out, and they're putting in Pletcher.
Yes, that's right.
So that's interesting to me, Tom, because then next year are they going to go? Rodriguez because he's for real? Rodriguez, Tomasello, Pletcher, Keyshawn bumps, Micah bumps, and Jake Ryan bumps. Is that what they're going to do?
Well, I think that. And I haven't talked to the coaches, and even if I did, I wouldn't share what they said.
I know you got inside info, Tom.
No, but I haven't talked to them about this. But realistically, I think that now that Rodriguez is showing that he's the real deal, and now that Pletcher has to wrestle this year, you would think that next year Pletcher will redshirt. And you'll have Rodriguez, Tomasello, Hayes.
No, but if that's the year the Buckeyes are going to make the title run, because you got to remember next year Tomasello, Bojo, and Snyder are seniors, right?
Right.
So that's three key pieces of the puzzle. And if if you're going to put your best lineup out there, that's the year you put your best lineup out there.
What would you do then?
I feel like that would be the best lineup. Because Micah's not small. Obviously I know he was 41 last year, but I heard he was sucking a lot of weight. I could see Micah growing into 57. I really could. Well,
that's a good point. I think that your thought is valid. I'd like to see how Pletcher does at 41 this year.
Yeah, he had some really good early results at.
He's just short, man. I think that's the only thing he's got going against him is that he really is small for the weight.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say too small, but small in the sense that when you're looking at the top 5 or 6 guys, usually. They're pretty big dudes. He's not a big dude for that weight class.
And I you know what else I'll say about being not big is I sure thought Tomasello was going to look bigger at his weight. He kind of looks small at 33.
Well, yeah. I could have told you that.
What do you mean by that?
I could have told you that.
So you're just
he's still a stud,
or what?
No, he's a little pocket Hercules.
Hercules.
When you see him walk around, he's an animal, but you don't say 33. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and before I knew Rodriguez was the real deal, I was thinking, hey, maybe Tomasello drops. Pletcher gets in at 33, and
I didn't know Rodriguez was the real deal.
Hey, so let's talk about it. Rodriguez is the real deal. He goes toe to toe with Joey Dance.
He blew it against.
No, he got screwed. What happened?
He got screwed, then he blew it. He got screwed, then he wrestled like a freshman. But
that's fair.
I will say
that's very fair.
And I've never heard a bad word said about Rodriguez. Not one bad word.
But seriously, how can you just tap out of a bad position and get up? You can't do that, right? Yeah. Am I wrong on that? Right. I don't think that's legal.
And you can't tap out of a bad position. Adding insult to injury, I think it was a tactic.
It didn't even look like a potentially dangerous position either. It just looked like, hey, I don't really want to be here, and I'm kind of in trouble, and I'm going to tap out.
Yeah. And
what was that ref thinking?
I don't know what he was thinking. And then I don't know what Rodriguez was thinking when he didn't have any stalling warnings, and he just walked right into a guy that has a phenomenal shot.
Yeah, that was a terrible idea.
That was a freshman deal. But anyways, this kid, Rodriguez, I've never heard anyone say a bad word about him. I've always heard, he's going to be good, but no one has ever said, watch out, like they say about these other guys. And man, he's just lighting it up.
He blew out, who the hell did he blow out in the semis? He blew out someone that was pretty solid in the semis.
Northern Colorado, I think he beat 17-1 in the semis.
Yeah, that was it. And that kid's not bad. He really isn't.
I don't know. I didn't know who that kid was.
He's not a world beater, but, he's not bad.
What'd you think of Massa at 65?
Oh, I was very impressed. Honestly, I thought the score kind of misled what the action was. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I thought Massa looked like the better wrestler. I don't think he was dominant or anything, but I think the right guy won.
Yeah. Obviously he was in on that first leg attack. Kind of got hip tipped and then went behind. But I was impressed with how much he just kept attacking, and then honestly how well he rode, because Isaac really hasn't had much trouble getting out on people except Bo Jordan, Bo, his cousin, was really the only person I can recall him struggling on bottom against. So I thought it was an impressive performance. I think Michigan's kind of sneaking up on people, Tommy, because Mitchick's really good. Massa's really good. Kuhn's redshirting. He'll be back. Abinader's redshirting. He'll be back. Man, they kind of got some firepower there.
Oh yeah, they redshirted 3 guys for a reason.
Who else? I'm forgetting someone else they redshirted.
Oh, there was another guy that they redshirted that's legit. And then they've got some guys that are just young guys that are going to come up and up. They got Pantaleo redshirt.
Oh, Pantaleo, thank you. That's who redshirted. Yeah, that's 5 guys. That's 5 guys right there.
I think you call him Pantaleo one time.
Pantaleo, whatever. Whatever.
Yeah, man, I was impressed with Massa. I kind of, not that I was the only one that saw it coming, but when I saw how hard Derringer, who did control Massa at Southern Scuffle, he did control him, but I thought he worked pretty damn hard for a 5th-year senior with 3 titles against a true freshman, and I was like, that kid's going to be something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, honestly, now Isaac Jordan beat Daniel Lewis. Daniel Lewis had his shot against Aymar, and he got jacked in the first period. I don't know if you saw it. It was totally ridiculous.
I did not.
And after that, he got beat fair and square. After that, right?
Right.
And Isaiah Martinez kind of dominated the match after that. But he gets on a single. He's in. Flo's been putting pictures up. I'm sure you've seen the picture, right? And,
no, I haven't.
Oh, it's all over. Well, okay, so he single legs him. He drops Aymar on his butt. He gets the leg hooked, and Aymar's kind of hanging on, right? And he has, Aymar is damn near flat on his back, Tommy. And Lewis is trying to work the top leg off to get his 2 points, and they stalemate it. And I'm like, how do you stalemate that position? I mean, hold on, I'm gonna find a picture and message it to you real quick.
It won't come through while I'm on the phone.
Oh, what the hell, Tommy?
I'll have to check it out.
Okay, so anyway, I thought that was a game changer, because then obviously Lewis is tough on top. Maybe he gets some ride time there. Maybe it makes a difference. But yeah, that was an unfortunate situation. But he did, in fact, Aymar kind of controlled the match after that, unfortunately. So with that scenario, you're kind of looking at Massa's. I believe people ranked him number 2, but he should be ranked number 2 because Isaac Jordan beat Daniel Lewis already this year.
Right. I think that I just think that as good as Massa is, his style, it's not. I wouldn't call him methodical, but he's not like just a goer, so to speak. And I just think that his style is going to be fine for Martinez.
Yeah, I mean,
I think the only guy that's beaten Aymar is the guy that is just, got a freakishly unique, crazy style.
Noel's pretty freaking good. Freaking good. Damn it all! I'm trying to find this picture for you, Tommy, and I can't find this picture.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I want you to see. And Missouri versus Ohio State is in 2 days, and I don't think I'm attending. I don't know that you're attending either. But
I think my flight gets back at like 7:15 or something.
Oh my gosh, Tommy!
Yeah.
I don't even know.
So hey, I thought Mark Branch kind of roasted you on Twitter a little bit.
Roasted me? I roasted him. What did he say to me? I must have missed his comeback.
I feel like he got you.
What did he say?
Well, a photo. The very premise of a photograph is that it's a still image. It's a static image.
Uh-huh.
So, even though Bryce Meredith was flat as a pancake, it was a moment in time. And
hey, so let's talk about these moments in time.
Well, Ben, if you hit a Granby the way you're supposed to hit it, if I took a picture at the right time, you'd be pinned.
Yeah.
So stop it with that. And
well, I was kind of just effing with him to anyway.
I know. And he was messing with you back, but it was funny. Yeah. He was definitely pinned. I've been looking at the photograph for 5 minutes.
No. He said that to Flo first, and then I responded after.
Okay, I thought it was great what Mark.
I'm trying to find it now. I can't find it.
It was great.
Wow. Yeah. So okay. Hey, so speaking of moments in time, hey, and Chiarella did have Hendrick pinned in 2006. P.S.
He for sure did.
Okay. Cool. Speaking of moments, I don't like this new instantaneous takedown rule, and it did benefit one of your guys this weekend because Tomasello versus Micic, or however you say it, at 133.
Yeah, I don't know how to say it either.
Micic. That takedown was bullcrap. You see
Which
it?
one?
The only takedown, I believe it was the only takedown of the match.
I got my rose-colored glasses on, dude. That was a takedown.
Come on, he was like he had his arm through the bodies pretty much, damn near facing him, and he was only on his knee for a quarter of a second. That's his instantaneous takedown rule is kind of ridiculous.
I think it makes sense.
Shut up, Tommy. That's just because it's for Tomasello right now. I mean, seriously, that was not a takedown. You still say it was a takedown?
I don't like when people whine about reaction time, honestly.
Well, I mean, I'm not whining. I'm challenging the whole rule. I think they should change it back. You got to have at least like a 1/1000 or something in there.
Folks, now wrestling's all about control. So I mean, I guess from that angle, yeah, you should have some reaction time.
Hey, how about when I roasted you on Twitter this week?
Oh yeah, you should. By the way, I had 30. Listen, I should have had a lot. I should have had a lot more pins, but I had 36.
You had 36.
It wasn't. Yeah.
You make it sound so much worse. You always talk about how bad you are on bottom. Or I'm sorry, on top.
Well, because I was bad. Because of the 36 pins I had, Ben, I bet 25 of them were feet to back.
I see.
And, yeah, I was just bad on top. But I got 36 pins. A lot more than Kyle Snyder.
Well, Kyle Snyder's turning up the heat. He's already got 2 this year.
Yeah, he is turning up the heat.
Turning up the heat, baby. Okay, so we kind of talked about Tomasello Mitch. It's a one takedown match. I thought it was a very questionable takedown. Mitchell's never had Tomasello in any trouble, though. I felt like Tomasello controlled the hand fighting, controlled the pace. I
think if I'm not mistaken, they have a pretty long history against each other.
Oh, really? I was not aware of that.
I think they've been scrapping for like a decade. And so that might have something to do with the match. But I could be wrong. For some reason, I feel like I've heard that.
Yeah, I guess that would make sense. They were the same era, and they were roughly the same weight. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I want to say they've been like cadet nationals, junior nationals, just all the time.
Yeah, fair. That's fair enough. Okay, so then you got at 41, you got McKenna over Meredith. Just simple, workmanlike. Kind of just stuffs all of Meredith's scrambles in the third period. I thought Meredith was working towards some points at a few different times, and man, McKenna just locked him down, gave him nowhere to go, stuffed it, and ended up, I believe, was it 4-3 or 3-2?
Yeah, he's very workmanlike. He was like that way last year,
Yeah, which I can't get overly excited about, but a win's a win, right?
I love the honesty, and it's true. I mean, it's like
right.
You can't knock it. I mean, the other thing is he's not a staller. He's just very
methodical. Hey, that was the word I was gonna say.
Yeah,
methodical. Yeah, for sure.
Because he ain't stalling. He's not afraid to scrap. He's just not going to do anything crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
That's fair. That's fair. Okay, so let's give you some bragging rights here, Mike. Listen, okay, never mind. Micah Jordan over Lugo. What do you got?
I thought he looked great. I mean, he's I think at the end of last year, he might have petered out a little bit. Freshman year, cutting a ton, a lot of weight, and he still got some holes in his wrestling. And he's still got to get better on bottom and stuff like that. But I just think that his strengths are even stronger at 49.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I think his gas tank looked good because he was losing early there, and then he came back and won in very convincing fashion. I was impressed. I thought he looked good. And now we're looking. Obviously, Sorensen, who did not look very good in the Iowa South Dakota State duel on Friday night. I don't know if you caught that.
No, I didn't know that he did. I saw the results.
Well, so the unranked South Dakota State kid tied it up with a takedown 5-5 in the third period, and he really had the momentum going his way. But he just was forcing these really aggressive crab rides that were unnecessary, and he ended up getting reversed and then ridden out for I believe his final score was 7-5 or 8-5. But Sorensen's had his shot at Rutherford. Levon Mays from Missouri has never had a shot at Rutherford, and now Micah Jordan doesn't have a shot at Rutherford. So I think those are the two most exciting matches in that weight class. And those two. Now, Mays did not wrestle in the UNI Open, and Missouri had a bunch of guys out at the UNI Open, so I don't know what the status of some of those guys is, but Mays versus Micah Jordan could happen on oh my gosh, how much I said? Thursday night.
I think it will happen. Yeah, I think it will happen Thursday. We should close out this podcast with another recap of what we think the match will be.
We already did that once, though. And
fine.
Also, I don't know who's healthy for Missouri.
Oh, now here's the excuses. You're starting already. Starting already.
Hey, is Bojo wrestling or no?
I think he is. I think it's just you have a kid, man. It's hard to get locked back in. I think this is his first match back, and I think he'll be in the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things to say about Missouri, which I've said on this show previously, is that Brian Smith does a better job than anyone in the country getting depth in his team, right? And that's what, a guy like Aaron Assad goes out and wrestles a close match against Joey Dance at 125. And, at the UNI Open, they had multiple guys in the finals, I believe, at multiple weights. But Missouri did not have Barlow McGee, which is the starter at 25. They didn't have Matt Manley at 41. They didn't have Mays at 49. They didn't have Wisman at 74, and they didn't have Miklas at 84. So they were literally missing half their starters this weekend at the UNI Open. So that's why I don't know who's going to show up. But yeah, they took Missouri had a first and third place at 33, a fourth and a fifth at 41. 49, like I said, Mays wasn't there. They had a first and a second at 57, a second and a third at 65. There's a lot of depth in that lineup.
Right.
So there is some injury problems. I don't know who's going to show up. I guess we're going to find out here in 2 days.
Ironman and Nato will be a lot of fun.
That's going to be a lot of fun. It really is. I mean,
absolutely.
We're really going to see. I know the Missouri coaching staff is high on Ironman. Obviously, we're going to see what he's really made of because Nato is he's going to get out there. He's going to get tougher. He's going to push the pace. So I think we're going to get a lot of questions about Jaden Ironman answered on Thursday night.
Absolutely.
All right, let's keep going. Hey, Vegas was kind of weak this year, as evidenced by this final. Jake Short over Colin Heffernan. I don't know that either of those guys are currently in the top 10.
I would agree. Well, you usually have Missouri and Illinois at Vegas.
And Ohio, yeah. I mean, when you look at the top teams, Virginia Tech was there, but they had a lot of guys out. Ohio State obviously had 3 of their main guys out, but Penn State, Iowa, Oklahoma State, and Missouri, which are 4 of the top 5, were not there.
And Penn State and Oklahoma State are never at Vegas.
Never, no. Mm-mm. But yeah. I was never at Vegas either.
No, they're not.
Yeah, so I think Vegas was down a little bit this year. All right, Valencia I guess he proves his worth here. He beats
Impressive.
Brian Real Budo. It was a slow match. Obviously, I was cheering for Real Budo. I was in his corner. Really slow match. Not a huge amount of action. I think they were both kind of hesitant of each other. And then Valencia comes out and gets a takedown with, I don't know, 6-7 seconds left to seal the match.
Right. No, it was a good match. I mean, I agree with the assessment. It was. I actually only watched the first period, but maybe that's a testament to what you said. I was just trying to get through as many matches as I could. So.
Yeah.
But I knew Valencia would be in there, so not surprised.
Let me see. I'm checking the 157-pound rankings now. Christian Piles, compounded rankings. It's going slow here. Hold on. I'm gonna
This time last year, you were ripping on CP because of the.
God dang it all! I got this damn Flo ads playing. Yeah, Flo's got that submission underground this weekend. John Jones versus Dan Henderson. I think that's gonna be kind of interesting. I kind of feel like John Jones is gonna win fairly easily, but. I guess we'll see here. Would you ever do a submission match, Tommy?
What's that?
Would you ever do a submission match?
I don't even know what it is.
They just try to tap each other out.
I've done that before. I did it like 10 years ago when I worked.
Really?
When I worked. Yeah. I think it was like grappling submission. Yeah, I've done it.
All right.
I got choked out by some guy.
Oh, man. Heffernan was 11 and Short was 18. So I guess that was on the money. Those guys.
That's pretty weak. That's pretty weak.
That's pretty weak.
For a final.
Yeah, I mean, not one guy in the top 10. Oh, Brian Murphy. Where the hell is he? He didn't wrestle. He's always hurt.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, okay. And Dylan Palacio, who's number 2, was not there also. He did not compete. So
a lot of guys out.
Yeah. Well, okay. How about Dean? I think he's the talk of the tournament.
I mean, he just crushed everybody.
Yeah, and Mymar versus Zach Zavatsky. I thought Miles blew it. I thought he had the match. It looked like he was in control. He was the better guy. And what the hell did he do? He did something on bottom and he went right to his back.
He just what he's doing this year that I guess I didn't see coming is he's still kind of making some young guy decisions, you know.
No,
and
that's fair. And that
and he won the national tournament fair and square.
Yeah.
But maybe that disguised the fact that he still is not able to consistently make the right decision all the time. And I'm not cutting on him because by the same token, he's had 5 or 6 takedowns this year where it's just like that guy is wrestling in the Olympics one day. Like when I you know what I mean? Like that's
sure.
I still think very highly of him, but I still think there's an inconsistency that is not yet established, but I think it will be established with just making the proper decisions.
Hey, I don't want you to flip out on me or anything here, Tommy, but you know what I was thinking? I was kind of thinking the opposite direction. I was thinking, what if he never wins another title? Right? Bo Nickel's on fire. Valencia beat him last summer. Valencia's probably coming up to this weight class. What if Miles never wins again?
I really don't believe that, but it's you've got some good discussion points to say why he won't, but I just don't believe that. The kid's a freak.
Yeah.
A freak athlete, good kid, lives a good, clean life, is very coachable. I just can't see him not winning again. Now,
so he's going to get that decision-making fixed up a little bit.
I know. And I think this year it's going to be tough. I mean, it's Gabe Dean is a freak. You know what I mean? But
Gabe Dean,
I think
tearing people up.
I think he'll win at least one more.
Okay.
Miles.
So like I said, Zavatsky beats Miles. I thought Miles was looking like he was going to win, did not win. But then Gabe Dean just hammer smashes Zach Zavatsky.
I mean,
right?
Just hammer smashes, yes.
I mean, that's kind of what it was. I mean, there's not really a lot of other ways to describe it. And, this is a guy who was, number one, has not been very consistent, as far as, for as good as he is. He's always lost matches. And on top of that, was never a bonus guy. And now, he's just demolishing everybody. I think he's got something I think every match is bonus this year so far. And it's something like 11 matches.
It's overwhelming.
8 pins.
It's overwhelming.
2 majors and a tech.
And he's just built. He's just freaking chiseled out of granite.
Yeah, that's for sure. No doubt about that. So you think Nichols got any chance against him or no?
No.
Yeah, I want to say no. Also,
I don't.
So yeah, I mean he does. Who's got Nolan Boyd this weekend? Is it Does Dean have Nolan Boyd this weekend? Is that who it is?
I'm not sure.
Hold on. I think that's who's wrestling. Give me 1 second. I'll check this out. Cornell wrestling schedule. Okay. Cornell wrestling schedule. 2016-17. Let's see if they got Oklahoma State this weekend. Sorry, I'm scrolling here. They do. At Oklahoma State. Okay, it's not this weekend. It's 12-16. So that would be, how many days from now? That's what, 9 days away?
Today.
So is that on a Thursday? Let's see, because today's a Tuesday.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's 10 days away, Tommy. It's 10 days. So it's a Friday night.
Okay.
So that'll be interesting one to watch because obviously Boyd took 4th last year at NCAAs, and Boyd did upset Dean at Cornell. So, that's going to be a good barometer of where he's at.
Yep, it is. You're right. And
then I believe Nickel and Dean will meet at the Southern Scuffle. So that should
be a lot of fun.
That'll be a lot of fun. I got you. Nickel's on fire, but we talked about Nickel at length last year, and as good as he is, he's going to smash the guys that aren't as good as him. But I just see him struggling with Gabe Dean. I don't think he's got the firepower to keep up with Dean.
Well, yeah, I mean, I do too, and we've talked about Nickel a lot. But I don't think that his situation against Gabe Dean is more an indictment on Nickel than it is just a testament to where Dean's at right now.
Sure, that's fair. I can go with that. All right, next weight.
Yeah, who won 97? I'm forgetting.
Farr killed Hot, who Jaden Cox had a close match with, which leads some people to believe that maybe Farr can beat
the other
Cox,
thing that Farr did. The other thing that Farr did is Colin Moore, who's had a pretty great start this year. He's been dominant in every match besides Farr. And Farr, I didn't watch the match from the score. Looks of it, he ran right through them. So he's been running through some guys that are doing a good job this year.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. So, I think he establishes himself as the clear number 2 at that weight class. Obviously, Jaden's number 1 until proven otherwise. And, Jaden did hammer Farr pretty good at the NCAA semifinals last year. And I will say
Jaden Cox is winning that weight class.
Hey, Cox kind of turned it up. I believe he was 4 for 4 in pins at the UNI Open. So, about time he starts throwing some falls on the board for that Hodge trophy. Because the way Nolf, Dean, and Rutherford are going, they're going to have to put some numbers on the board to get that Hodge.
Yep.
So, and then heavyweight, which I thought was the most competitive weight class at the tournament.
It's also the most exciting weight class to watch in the sport.
Sure, Tommy.
Okay.
Okay, how about that? So Medbury beats Walls. Walls beat up on, Tanner Hall. Those are 3, I would say 3 of the best 4, obviously. Kyle Snyder was over at the Club Cup. He didn't wrestle here. You think Medbury's got anything at all for Snyder, or it's just a foregone conclusion?
No, I don't think these guys have anything for Snyder. But Snyder's not going to beat. He beat Walls 6-2 in the semis last year. I mean,
yeah. No,
I think Kyle
was it a few more points than that? Wasn't it like 9-4 maybe?
Yeah, I mean, Kyle's going to walk off the mat dripping in sweat with a 3 or 4 point win over these guys. So it's especially Medbury and Walls. I mean, with Tanner Hall, because Tanner Hall is a little smaller, I think I could see Snyder. Well, he already did scoring. I get a big point differential, but I mean, Snyder's going to be in control of these matches. But because of Snyder's style and because of the weight class, I don't see them being, like Jason Nolf, Ninja Matrix scores.
Yeah, but at heavyweight you got to pin people. You can't major and tech them. Because to your point, it is hard to score points, but you just got to roll those big son bitches over and put them on their back.
Yeah, just like turtles. Get the turtle shell facing, you know.
Because it's gravity, Tommy. Once you get that much gravity on them, they just can't get up.
Absolutely.
Seriously, right?
Yeah.
36.
Yeah.
That's not bad. You should challenge Snyder
Well,
to try to catch you.
we're kind of getting to a close a little bit here, but I think.
Wait, hold on. I'm seeing the score here. 10-6. He beat Wallace 10-6.
Yeah, which is pretty dominant.
Yeah.
I didn't see the match though, so for all I know, it could have been 6-6 with 10 seconds to go. But one thing we didn't talk about that I think we should is Snyder going 2-2 at the Club Cup.
Yeah, how do we skip that?
I don't know.
And he lost to Abbas Tehan, and I remember last year at the World Cup, even the Iranians were making fun of Abbas Tehan for sucking. So I was definitely surprised by that loss. And then really the Otakadze, I realized that Otakadze is very strategic and technical. But man, after how Snyder poured it on to him at the Olympics, I just thought there is no way in hell this guy's ever beating Kyle again.
Well, I mean, it's not fun that Kyle went 2-2, but I gotta be honest. I don't think I'm saying this just because he wrestles at Ohio State, but I think it's good for him that he's not on some legendary terror right now. I mean, the guy either just turned 21 or is not 21 yet. He's a world Olympic champion. He's clearly one of the 3 or 4 best wrestlers on the planet in his weight class and has been for the past 2 years. But I think it's kind of good that he has a lower profile than Jordan Burroughs did. I think it'll allow him to be a little bit more insulated from the limelight and just allow him to be a little bit more working like when it gets to the World Championships and Olympics, he's not going in there with this spotlight on him that you could see from 40 miles away. And I also think it's just not in Kyle's nature. I think what Kyle does best, in my opinion at least, is the mental side of the sport. Is he's ready when he has to be.
Yep, for
and,
sure.
I guess I'm just I saw Piles and I happen to totally agree with him. It just doesn't even impact my perception of how Kyle Snyder can perform at the world level when he went 2-2. It doesn't even really hit my radar right now. It's like, yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me, one, because he's not like the super dominant world Olympic champion. It doesn't surprise me that he lost. And even though he did lost, I'm still picking him to win the Worlds over anybody else in September.
My money would still be on Kyle Snyder, just like yours. I think that's a smart bet. I don't know that it'd be beneficial or, either. I don't know that it would, he's such a steady competitor. I don't know that it would affect him either way if he was going undefeated through these things or taking a couple losses.
But that's probably a good point because he's just that unique mentally.
Yeah, I think he is. I mean, really, I think he is. So I don't know that it would affect him that much. So I guess, I'm either way on it. I think it'd be fun to watch him go on a little tear here and not lose for a couple years. I think for me that would be entertaining. So we'll see. Maybe he can pull that off and stop losing to some of these guys.
I mean, I'd love to think that Kyle is going to go on and get 11 golds in a row. I mean, I'd love to. I mean, you know what I mean? But I really believe that he has the temperament, the physical, presence, and the youth. I think he really has the ability to go on a Baumgartner run. I mean,
wow.
I think he can do that. But
I thought he was going to go fight MMA.
I don't think he's doing that, man. I don't think he's doing that.
Oh man.
He wants to wait until there's a pension and there's employment contracts and stuff.
Smart kid.
He talked to Randy about it.
Nice. All right, Tommy, you got anything else for us?
No, dude. I had a good time tonight. Sorry I wasn't on my normal audio.
It's all good. I couldn't really tell the difference over here. I don't know if our listeners can either. All right. Thank you, Defense Soap. Thank you, Dollar Mats. Thank you, Tommy Rowlands. And I'll talk to you next week, my man.
All right, brother. Go Bucks.
Go Tigers.
You are listening to the T-Row and Funky Show, brought to you by Defense Soap. Defend what you have built.